Hi everyone. Welcome to the Power Leader podcast, the space where clarity meets courage and leadership becomes a force for real transformation. I am your host, Diya. This is the beginning of a movement, a new chapter built on purpose, courage, and the belief that leadership is not a title but a responsibility to elevate the world around us. We are going to start a journey to talk about what leadership really means, beyond the noise, beyond the cliches, beyond the surface. It's not another business show. For me, it is a calling. I needed to come out of my shell and share what I have learned and experienced to the world because I don't think we have a lot of time in this universe. This was a realization that happened to me a few months ago after a life-altering incident. I did have a few life-altering incidents before, but I was too young to realize what the universe is trying to tell me. I always wanted to help others, empower others, be a helping hand and a kind heart. But I didn't know how. I did not have a lot of money to help everyone I wanted to help. All what I have is the life experiences and learned knowledge. So I decided to start this podcast to share that with the world and let other leaders and people who think differently, who have real life experiences, who can inspire you by their life stories, whose stories can change your life, share their story, guidance, and tips with you all. For years, I have worked inside complex systems, healthcare, technology, cybersecurity, operations, and one truth has followed me everywhere. Organizations don't rise because of strategy alone. They rise because of leaders. Leaders who think deeply and differently. Leaders who act boldly. Leaders who serve with integrity. Leaders who build systems that elevate people, not just performance. And that truth is the heartbeat of this podcast. Here, I want you to get to know some of the leaders who build leaders, not followers. Because the world doesn't need more managers. Managing people and managing projects are important skills. But how many of us know that managing and leading are fundamentally different? A leader is someone who has vision, alignment, inspiration, and change. Management is not the definition of leadership. The world needs more power leaders, people who lead with clarity, conviction, and character. I did not become a leader because someone handed me a title. I became a leader because life handed me responsibility very early in my life. Leadership often emerges not from titles, but from early exposure to responsibility, adversity, or environments where someone had to step up. Leadership development researchers call it crucible moments, experiences that shape a leader's identity long before formal role exists. One reason many young graduates struggle when placed into management roles is that they haven't yet had the depth of experience, accountability, or adversity required to develop true leadership behavior. Leadership is definitely not about age, but about wisdom. But wisdom requires life experience. I believe true leadership is shaped in the trenches, not in the classroom. It is earned, not assigned. I have been a founder of multiple business ventures, a strategist, a builder, a security leader, and a mentor, and many more. But more than any title, I have been a student of human behavior, systems, trust, and the resilience that made me a transformational leader that distinguished me from positional leaders. I'm a big fan of continuous learning because titles describe what you do, but learning describes who you are. I have learned that leadership is not about authority, but about accountability. Accountability not only to yourself, but people around you and the organization you serve. It is about the quiet discipline of aligning what you believe with how you behave. It is the essence of integrity. It is about treating your organization as another living being which needs loyalty and care. Because they have culture, they have memory, they have health, they have vulnerabilities. They respond to how leaders treat them. Leadership is about the courage to make decisions when the path is unclear. It is about protecting ethics, dignity, reputation, trust, and the future we all share. I believe in authentic leadership, the kind that is not performed, polished, or perfected, but practiced in the everyday moments when no one is watching. Authentic leadership is rooted in truth. It chooses clarity over chaos, integrity over influence. It shows up in the way we make a decision when the stakes are high, in the way we treat people when we have nothing to gain, and in the way we hold ourselves accountable to the standards we expect from others. Authentic leadership is legacy leadership. It outlives roles, outlasts recognition, and outshines any title we could ever hold. You don't become an authentic leader through cheerleading, popularity, or peer approval. You become one through experience, wisdom, and the courage to grow. Titles fade, careers evolve, we all retire at some point. But the impact we leave on people, that is permanent. That is why this podcast exists. To elevate leaders who choose purpose over ego, to amplify voices who build trust, not fear, to explore the frameworks, stories, and the truths that help us lead with clarity, courage, and conviction. Every episode of the Power Leader podcast will explore the questions that truly shapes a life, a career, and an organization. What does it mean to lead with clarity in a busy world? How do we build systems that honor people, not just performance? What does resilience look like when the stakes are high? How do we build organization where culture is not in words, but in actions? How do we create cultures where trust is not just a slogan, but a lived experience? What separates a manager from a transformational leader? You will hear stories of reinvention, frameworks for decision making, conversations with the leaders who have walked through fire, lessons from cybersecurity, operations, human behavior, and system leadership insight you can use in your work, in your leadership, and in your life. This podcast is for leaders who know they were meant to build something bigger than themselves. For the leaders who want to think deeply, act boldly, and lead with integrity. For leaders who are ready to step into the next version of themselves. We all have a leader in us, but many of us doesn't know how to recognize the leader in us. If you have ever believed you were meant to lead differently, if you have ever felt called to build something bigger than yourself, if you are ready to rise into the leader you were always meant to be, then this journey is for you. Because leadership is not what we say, it is what we consistently do. It is the legacy we leave in the lives we touch. It is not the titles we collect or the authority we hold. It is the system we build and the trust we protect. It is not the control we exert or the image we project. This is the Power Leader podcast, where we don't just talk about leadership, but we redefine it. Thank you all for being here.